welcome to Checkpoint Running. I'm Dylan. I hope you enjoyed that view from Black Rock on the Appalachian Trail here in Maryland. It was a beautiful day. On a clear day, almost like today, you can actually see all the way to West Virginia and Pennsylvania from that overlook, so it's gorgeous. It's definitely one of the most popular overlooks on this section of the AT. So thank you for joining me on this run. Today's run is going to be a long run. We're running north to south along the AT in Maryland. You can see here I've added some stats and a map and an elevation profile for this run. I hope that you find these useful, especially if you're running on like a treadmill or a bike or something. You can now adjust and use these metrics to help guide your workout as you enjoy the nice views from my point of view here along the AT. Along here, other than Black Rock, we're also going to get a really nice view from Annapolis Rocks. It's coming up here pretty soon, so I think you'll really like that. And then we're going to head down across Interstate 70, run back on the other side, and then you'll see on the elevation profile here, just at the very end, we're going to have a steep climb up to Washington Monument for the best views of the whole area. It's a 360-degree view, absolutely gorgeous. You can see for miles. So this run is worth it. Stick with it till the end, and just enjoy this. So about the stats here. So these are the stats for me as I'm running, and so I just want to mention that you if you are trying to follow along on a treadmill or something, adjust to what you are comfortable with. For a long run, our goal is to maintain a relative perceived effort, or an RPE, of 4 or 5 for the entire run. So an RPE 4 was what you should probably have here at the beginning, maybe even a 3 while you warm up. And it should feel really easy. You should be able to breathe through your nose, breathe out through your nose, talk to somebody, sing even. You really should have just a nice, relaxing warm up and run here. And then after you're warmed up, then start picking it up to an RPE of 5, right? So maybe heart rate gets a little bit higher, and maybe you can't sing anymore, but you should still be able to, talk pretty well. You should still be able to breathe in through your nose, maybe out through your mouth. But we're not looking for really intense effort on long runs. So for some of you, this speed here of 4 miles an hour, 5 miles an hour might be too slow. Maybe you can go faster and still maintain an easy effort, or maybe you need to walk and go slower. That's okay. I just wanted to put the stats on here so you had some gauge of what I'm doing. And I think the incline is helpful to understand how challenging some of these runs can be. This is definitely going to be a more challenging run, even though it does have a net downhill elevation profile. So we're starting up high here at Black Rock, and then we're going to run down to I-70, and then you can see there's really not too many huge climbs until that very last one there, even though it's quite steep. So please keep all of that in mind as you do this run, and stay safe and maintain reasonable efforts so that you don't hurt yourself, and you can keep running, keep working towards your goals. Another topic for long runs: make sure that when you are doing a long run that you bring plenty of nutrition with you and plenty of hydration. You really want to try to get maybe 200 to 400 calories per hour as you do a long run to maintain effort and help with recovery, which is actually the more important part of it. You don't want your body breaking down muscles or, having to try to pull from resources other than blood sugar during a long run. And as you recover from a long run, I think if you were to do a long run, maybe 2 hours or something, or maybe even only an hour, but really starting to get into that 2 to 3 hour range without eating anything, you'll find that the next day you feel a lot worse. And so it's really important to make sure that you're getting in some nutrition as you go. So I would encourage you, if you're going to do this entire long run with me today, which I hope you do, that you do have, some kind of nutrition nearby to eat, and definitely have some water for hydration. In terms of what types of nutrition, I say you do what works for you. Preferably something that is very high in carbohydrates and very easily digested. These might be energy gels, they might be dried fruit, might be like maybe some honey. You have lots of options. I just want to make sure that you have something. So adjust. If you need to pause, go get something, I would encourage you to do that. So as we go here along the trail, still just getting warmed up. For me, it takes about 30, sometimes 45 minutes to really warm up into any run. So, I'm not going especially fast here, even though this is a flat section of the Appalachian Trail and also a non-technical section. There's some rocks, some roots, but generally this is a pretty smooth and wide open section. So I just really want to make sure that my muscles are warmed up, my heart is warmed up, my lungs are warmed up, things like that, so that when I do put in an effort, it comes naturally. I think if you've run for any period of time, you'll start to notice when you feel warmed up and what the difference that makes in your running. So definitely make sure that you warm up. And here again, just like many things, it will depend on where you're at in your fitness journey. Some people are able to warm up very quickly, and some people do take longer. It also, for me, since I'm out here running in the weather can play a big factor into how quickly I warm up as well. I certainly warm up faster in the summer than I do in the winter. So keep that in mind. So continuing along here, we're just running. You may have noticed if you've watched any of my previous videos, today there were a lot of people out on the trail. The weather was a lot nicer than it has been in recent weeks here. So there were way more people out, lots of people, all ages. In fact, at Black Rock, I had to cut because there was like a troop of Boy Scouts there, and they were just out hiking and enjoying the area. I just didn't want to show any of them on camera, and they were being pretty, rowdy, since it was like 20 boys, and they were just having some fun. So I didn't want to include them in the video. So the trail actually was really nice today, or on this run. It was about maybe 50 degrees Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, not too windy. It did get windier towards the end of the run. But yeah, I really enjoyed this long run. So as you watch these videos, and hopefully you run along with me, or maybe bike or elliptical or whatever type of machine you like, if you do like these videos, please give me a like, give me a subscribe, hit the notification icon. I really do appreciate that support. I also really appreciate any comments you might have. So if you're liking the new gauges, let me know. If you think I can do better, let me know. Also, on this day, I didn't record the audio from an external microphone on this run like I have been. I found I really couldn't get just a good, clean audio, no matter how hard I tried and what settings I used with that. So I'm recording the audio after the run here. I hope that was pretty obvious. And let me know what you think about this. Do you prefer kind of the noisier audio and hearing the footsteps and things like that? Or do you prefer maybe a little bit cleaner audio? And here, I made a little bit of a wrong turn. I went off into the washout area instead of the trail. So I had to backtrack a little bit. Felt a little embarrassed, because there were some people right there, but happens. Sometimes you make a wrong turn. So continuing to get all warmed up here, I do pick up the pace a little bit. You can see this is a bit of a downhill here. And what we're doing here is we're heading towards Annapolis Rocks, which is about a quarter of a mile off of the main trail here. This little sign says caretaker, and there's a mailbox. I don't know if somebody lives there full time or just is there sometimes. But yeah, it's like the caretaker area. There's a couple of sheds, probably have some tools and things like that. And they do a really good job maintaining this section of the Appalachian Trail because it's very popular with both Annapolis Rocks and Black Rock being only about a mile to a mile and a half apart from each other. So they're both pretty accessible once you've made it to the top of the mountain. So running along here, still a pretty tame trail. Just enjoying my time out here in the world. It's one of the reasons I really like trail running, just being outside and being just being, not worrying about what could happen, what has happened, anything like that, just living in a moment. So here, this man in the red hat and white t-shirt and this woman were setting up what looked like a picnic at first. I thought, oh, that's cute, have a little picnic up here. And then I noticed that she was laying out flowers and really trying to make it look pretty. So talk about that in a minute. I'll just let you soak in this view from Annapolis Rocks, which is gorgeous. You can see all the way over to West Virginia. I think you can see why this is popular. You can ignore the slope metric there. Obviously, I'm standing still. I don't know what it is. Sometimes it's like goes kind of nuts when I stand still. So here you can see she's setting up some flowers and like a wine or champagne. And apparently she was rushing because she had some friends on the way. And what this was actually a proposal set up. So someone there was going to possibly get engaged. I don't like to invade people's privacy or anything that I don't know, and I don't know any of these people out here on the trail today. So I didn't wait around or anything. I felt that would be awkward. Just have a stranger standing there waiting and watching for someone to propose. So yeah, we're going to go back on the trail here. I'm just getting a little bit of nutrition. So, I'd encourage you to take a little nutrition as well, sip of water, something like that. And we came downhill to get to Annapolis Rocks. So now we have to go back up the hill. So I'm just finishing out my nutrition here, which is why I'm walking. Don't want to trip on a rock or something like that while I'm fumbling with my food. So we're going to pick up the pace here in just a minute as we climb back up, or at least pick up the effort as we go uphill. So you may notice maybe I'm only going to be doing 3 or 4 miles per hour still, which you think, oh, okay, that's only a 15 to 20 minute per mile pace. It's not especially fast. You can walk, at a 3 mile per hour pretty, it's a brisk walk. It's not too challenging for many people. But I want to, I've done the warm ups, so I want to start getting into a little bit more of a run here. And one of the things that I like to practice on any of these runs is to try to look ahead. My head is constantly on a swivel while I'm doing these things. You may notice, my face kind of pops in and out here on the left and things like that, because I'm constantly having to look around and adjust to my surroundings and what's coming up on the trail. So apologize if that's a little bit distracting for you, but just kind of what it is. I'll work on my camera placement, maybe try to get it a little further out from my chest here or something, so that doesn't happen quite as much, because I realize it could be distracting. But for now, continuing along here. And as I'm going, one of the things I like to focus on in my practice running is looking ahead, right? Seeing, there's a lot of people on the trail today. I want to make sure that they're aware of me and able to get out of the way or adjust, not feel like I'm, pressing them or going to run them over or anything. And also you can see here, there's lots of these steps that they've put in and some rocks that I need to pay attention to. So I really have to stay focused, no matter how long the run is, whether I'm running for an hour on a trail or I'm doing a race that's going to take me 6 or 7 plus hours. It's really important to pay attention here. And so I constantly am practicing, keeping my head up and stuff. So here we can see the sign. It says Annapolis Rocks in spring, 0.25 miles away. So we just came from there. And there's a campground and a spring back in there as well. I should mention that. But back to staying on focused. I feel like staying focused in ultra running, like mentally focused, can actually be more challenging than the physical part of running. It's so challenging, especially as you go further and further, and maybe even run into the night. If you've done ultra running or you follow ultra running documentaries, things like that, running through the night is not uncommon. And it's very hard to focus at night sometimes, especially if you run all day. So this is something I work on all the time as I do my long runs, is just focusing on where am I keeping my head up? Am I looking 15, 20 feet ahead? Am I adjusting to what's right under me, or am I adjusting to something that I've already seen so that I can maintain speed and balance and be agile? And the reason I do that is because I do like to run races that are potentially, many hours. The longest amount of time that I've run continuously was 22 and a half hours. It was a race that started at 8 a.m. and I finished at 6:30 a.m. the following morning. That race was the 2021 Cloud Splitter 100K down in Norton, Virginia. It's in far southwest Virginia. That race was amazing. I really liked that race. But it was very challenging, very technical, lots of rocks, lots of roots, lots of water crossings, a couple of big mountains to climb where we're climbing, 4,000 or 5,000 feet in a single go, just uphill without a break. So it was really hard. And so the reason I bring that up is that race, I actually had a really challenging time focusing towards the end of the race. Like just trying in the dark with my headlamp to see the rocks, to see the roots, to make out any sort of, depth on those things. It was really challenging. And then on top of that, I'm physically tired. So I started to trip more, started kicking over rock, or I think at one point I did actually fall. And that then further breaks your focus. You start to become, worried that you're going to fall and get hurt. You're going to start to worry that you're going to trip more. And, each time you trip, you stub your toes or something like that, and it hurts a little bit more each time. And you get a little bit more tired, because you've got to catch yourself. And it just gets really, really challenging. And so I broke that race. It broke me. So I was so tired, so frustrated, so much pain that I stopped. I stopped and I sat down and I just sobbed. I don't know how long exactly I was there for. It's probably only about 5 minutes. It felt like 30. But I did manage to collect myself. I got over it. I said, I'm almost done. I can finish this. And so I did. I got up. I started walking. I had about 5 miles to go to the finish line. It was mostly downhill. And I just said, you know what? I've come this far. I've come 60 miles in, 21 hours. Let me knock out these last 5 miles or so and just get it done. So I did. I pushed through. I refocused, and that's the main thing here. I told myself I'm going to do this no matter how much it hurts. I'm going to slow down a little bit and make sure I don't kick any more rocks and roots. I'm going to adjust my headlamp so maybe I can see a little better. But just letting myself break down a little bit actually helped me gather myself, if that makes any sense. I guess trying to keep the mental focus all of the time was actually becoming too much, and just letting myself go for a little bit helped me recover. So very challenging race, the Cloud Splitter. Unfortunately, the race isn't held anymore. I think the race director canceled starting this year, 2024, I think canceled due to a hurricane that came through, and then decided not to hold any future races after that, which is really unfortunate because I thought it was a really awesome race in a small little town and had some amazing views. Anyway, focusing back on this run and this trail, you can see now I've picked it up. We're pretty regularly moving at about 5 miles per hour now, so about a 12-minute per mile pace instead of the 3 to 4 we had before. Though, of course, it varies here. if you're following along, definitely make sure you're still adjusting. We're still trying for an RPE 4 to 5. We don't want to be going any faster than that. We're working any harder than that, no matter what the incline is, right? If we're running downhill, we might be able to go a little faster. If we're running uphill, it might go a little bit slower. Just want to maintain a consistent effort. And if you are going uphill, if you are going up a steep uphill, it's perfectly fine if you get up to like an RPE-6 or an RPE-7 for a brief period of time. No more than maybe 5 minutes. We don't want to make that our run. That's not the goal of a long run. We're not trying to put in high cardio effort. We're trying to just keep an aerobic, nice, easy run. So we're going to navigate around these people here. Try not to run anybody over. Let them know I'm here. And just keep going down this hill here. A little bit of a downhill before a tiny little uphill, and then a really long downhill. So looking at the elevation profile in the bottom left, you'll see, I like this section of training, or this section of the AT for training, because of this elevation profile. It's got a little bit of everything. We've got some steep climbs, we've got some long climbs, we've got some short climbs, we've got downhills, we've got flats. So this section is just really nice, and it doesn't hurt that it's beautiful. We have to enjoy and try to make some fun out of these long runs. So I try to find things that are interesting, whether that's a view somewhere I haven't been before, something that I know has something interesting because maybe it's on a all trails map or something like that, and I want to go see it. So I like this section, and I like this section also because it does help mimic the environments that I'm training for my races, where I will have some long steep climbs. I will have some long steep descents, and so this is kind of like an intermediate level in terms of the climbing. So it gets me used to it a little bit, especially early coming out of the winter season. And I still have 6 months to train before my big race this year. So this gives me plenty of time to kind of build back into the hills and, get a good, strong running foundation for when I go to race. So kind of a local minimum here, local bottom of a hill. I'm going to climb back up here in just a minute. It's kind of a steep climb coming up here, so make sure that you are prepared and maybe get a little sip of water or a little, maybe a little piece of fruit or something. Just get that in your system before we start doing this climb up. I also like the AT this time of year because you can see there's a lot of people here, and many of them are day hikers. They don't have any packs or anything like that, but you'll see some people do have quite hefty packs with lots of camping equipment and things, and they're doing some sort of through hike most likely. So a lot of people will take 3 to 6 months to hike the AT, which if you're not familiar with the Appalachian Trail, it goes from Maine all the way down to Georgia. It's about 2,200 miles of trail, and we're in Maryland here, which is almost in the middle. Got about 1,000 miles in each direction from Maryland. So there are some people who might have started at the beginning of the year who are just now making it into Maryland. And there's people going in both directions. Some people like to start in Maine and go south. Some people like to start in Georgia and go north. So starting to see some of that, those types of through hikers. So here you can see where it's starting to get pretty steep. We're up to a plus 10, which may not seem like a lot, especially if you're on a treadmill or a bike. But believe me, with these steps like this, where it's not a nice, smooth incline, it gets pretty rough. And then we got to climb over this tree that came down. I would expect they'll come through and cut that up pretty soon. They're very good about maintaining these trails. And then when you do start hitting these like 17, 18 degree slopes or percent slopes, it definitely starts to really burn and get really challenging. If your treadmill or your bike don't go that high, don't worry about it. Again, it's more about the effort. So maybe you pick up the speed. So instead of walking this like I am, maybe you're running it, things like that. So just keep all that in mind. Again, with the hills, we're trying to have a consistent effort as well. Not trying to push the hills, and walking is okay. Nobody in any of my ultra races or long runs has ever shamed or chastised or anything about me walking. This is an individual sport, and if you need to walk to finish it, you need to walk to gather yourself, whatever, do it. Nobody's judging you. Just get it done and have fun with it. I probably will upload a hill workout soon. If you've been following my channel, or if you've checked out some other videos on my channel, first, thank you, and I appreciate it. But I've also started to record some other types of videos. So now there's a tempo run video if you're looking for a tempo run, which is a very challenging tempo run, a 40-minute tempo run. There's also a recovery run video, just something nice and easy to do on, as an hour run. Very easy, just to help recover, flush out a system after some challenging efforts, things like that. And so here we've peaked this little hill, and now we get a nice long downhill. This downhill is pretty fun. It's got a lot of steps cut into it, a lot of rocks. It makes it really fun because it's a bit challenging. Back to the focus, right? You have to stay focused. Without staying focused, you might get hurt running this type of a trail. It's not perfectly flat and nice and groomed and all of that, even if it is well maintained. And so we just keep going down this hill, and I love it. I enjoy this. So as we're going down, just maybe a reminder, we started at Black Rock, and then we took a little detour and went and saw Annapolis Rocks. And now we're heading down from the climb to the I-70 bridge and the Annapolis Rocks parking lot. So this part of the trail is very accessible if you're ever traveling through Maryland, and you might want to check it out for yourself. There's a parking lot just off of Interstate 70, which runs east and west through Maryland and through the whole country, actually. And you can park, and then you can do maybe a 1 hour hike up this mountain to Annapolis Rocks and get that gorgeous view. And if you have time, then you could do the additional 1.5 miles or so hike from Annapolis Rocks to Black Rock and get that view as well. And then just come back down and get back to your car. A lot of people in the area really enjoy this, and you can tell there's a lot of people out today. So what else to talk about here? You can see, with the point of view, this is a camera that's a little bit off center from my body. And so you can see, my arms are swinging up and down here. I could talk about the poles I'm using. So these poles are from the Leki brand, which Leki, which I really like. These poles are a couple of years old at this point. Actually, I think they're about 4 years old. And I really like these. They have a technology that's I think might be proprietary to Leki, where you wear these kind of gloves, which you can see in like the yellow and gray gloves on my hands, that lock into the pole. And I like that because I don't have to really grip the pole strongly. I also like it because the weight is on my wrists instead of on my hands. And so it really helps reduce fatigue and general issues with holding poles. And I like running with these poles when I'm doing mountainous races or runs, to not only to practice, but they help with ups and downs, just taking a little bit of load off the legs with each step. And so here I'm using the poles and pushing them out in front of me, using them to absorb some of the shock as I run down the hill here. And like I said, helps take that load off. It's only a little bit each time, but it's great. And so as we ran past that man, he shouted out, "Faster!" And so I said, okay. And so you can see we picked it up from 5 miles per hour to 6 miles per hour. May not seem like a lot. It felt like a lot. Going from a 12-minute pace to a 10-minute pace. So yeah, it I definitely felt it there for a little bit. And here I think we have to slow down. There were some people coming from the other direction, so it wasn't easy for me to get by safely. So we'll just wait and then scooch on past these guys, who, even though I was calling out, seemed a little bit oblivious to my existence. It happens. Not everyone is totally aware of their surroundings. Sometimes that's me. Like this woman here, she's surprised, even though I'd called ahead for many, many times. I usually call, when I feel like I'm about 40 feet away, then again, like 20 feet. And I say, runner back, or runner coming up, or I'm coming up behind you, stuff like that. Try not to spook people. Try to make sure they've got plenty of time to react. And I usually try to pass on the left, so I might even say something like, on your left, something like that. See, here, these people, they saw me, or they heard me, and adjusted accordingly. So I didn't have to break my stride or anything, which I always appreciate. So we're just finishing out the descent here. Start to level out here pretty soon. And I'm still keeping my RPE-5. I'm not interested in racing this long run. And then I think, you can probably infer, right? But I had to get to Black Rock somehow. So I had run there and then just started recording from there. I hope that makes for a more manageable video for you guys that might be following along on a treadmill or something like that. And also just maybe makes it more interesting than just seeing, the same trail out and back. But let me know if you want to see the full run, even if it means seeing the same places twice or something like that, please let me know. I can probably record that and manage that. I just want to make sure it's worth it, because it does take a lot of time to edit these videos and cut out pieces where maybe the camera got a little wonky, or maybe there's a lot of people around, things like that I don't need to show or might not want to show, in case they want to have some privacy or whatever. So just keep that in mind. But let me know, if you want to see more. This particular long run for me in total was actually 4 hours. So you just get a piece of it. Most interesting piece, I think. So off to the right here, this is Interstate 70. And we're down at the bottom here. And we're going to cross over on the bridge coming up here, the I-70 Appalachian Trail pedestrian bridge. Off to the left behind this little hill here is the parking lot that I was talking about a little while ago. So people, park there. It can accommodate probably about 100 cars. And then you just hike up to where we came from. So here's the I-70 pedestrian bridge. So we're just going to cross this and start heading to the Washington Monument. So on this bridge, people like to put locks with their initials and then lock it to the bridge. I think this is a thing throughout the world. There's bridges in Paris and stuff where people do this. And in this case here, somebody put them in the shape of a heart, which is kind of cute, I guess. I don't know how often they might come through and clear off these locks, or how often people add them. I can't say I've stopped and looked at them and looked at the etchings and see if they have any dates on them or anything like that. It's just, I don't know. Not that interested in what people's initials are that might be together. Another interesting thing here, I guess, about the AT in this part of the world is here we're basically walking through people's backyards. I guess just how it is, and that they understand, if they live here, that people are going to be moving along these trails all the time, and they've just accepted that. So it's nice, I guess. That but I think the first time I did this, I just assumed that the AT was always in a wooded area or a park of some kind, like state park or a federal park. But no, this part's right through these people's backyard, side yard area. And we're going to cross the road and start doing a bit of a climb. This climb is manageable. Just try to stick with it. It doesn't get too gnarly, but it is a challenge. So, like I said, maybe give it a little push, but don't overexert yourself, because there's still a long way to go. And I don't want you to burn out or, use up all of your energy trying to climb this hill. But maybe try, if you've been following along and, you're like, oh, I'm going to walk every hill. Maybe give this one a try. It just doesn't have to be a lot. Maybe just try it at 3.5 miles per hour, right? That's probably about what I'm going to be doing here. So don't feel any shame in doing what you need to do, but I would encourage you to push a little bit out of your comfort zone on some of these climbs. Also, now that we're about 45 minutes into the run, double check that you've taken some nutrition, double check how your hydration is. make sure you're getting enough to keep your body happy and to keep moving. So here's where this climb does start to get a little bit challenging, right? Now we're up at 9%. That does feel rough, and you can see we've gone all the way down to 2 miles per hour. I am still running, and I'm just trying to adjust to these rocks. You can see that there's these big rocks right in the middle of the trail. It's a little bit technical. Kind of weaving back and forth, trying to plan the easiest route where I don't have to step on a rock, or if I do, I'm prepared to, bounce along or dance. I like to say dance on the rocks. But these technical parts can be really exhausting if you haven't practiced for them. They really work your ankles a lot because no footstep is ever perfectly smooth and perfectly flat. So that was one of the biggest things I actually had to adjust to when I went from road running to trail running, is my ankles at first hurt all the time. All the little micro muscles and tendons and ligaments in your ankle, that just, I didn't use them when I ran because everything's very smooth and predictable on the road. And you get to the trail and you start using all those little tiny muscles and things. So my ankles were sore, they hurt, but I stuck with it, and I built out slowly so that I didn't get injured, and they got stronger. And that applies to my knees and hips as well. I am not at a strength level in my trail running that I can swing every leg perfectly forward, and maintain that perfect runner's form that, lots of people have articles and videos about. And so my hips and knees are almost never, in a straight line on these technical trails. And so, yeah, like all those little things, they just add up. I've been doing this now for many years, so it comes kind of naturally to me at this point. But when I first started out, I had to go slow and just do maybe only a half an hour on a trail, maybe go slow, right? Walk it. And over time, it built up. Also, my mind started to get used to reading the trail, seeing, okay, well, I've seen these types of rocks before. I've seen these types of routes before. This is how I think the best way to handle these are. In addition to just running the trails and getting the practice to build the muscles, I also have started to incorporate strength training into my running regime, which I hadn't done when I was road running. And it's also really helped a lot. Just, maybe doing 10 minutes twice a week of squats and lunges and planks and crunches and, maybe 10 or 15 push-ups, all that stuff. It helps, and it keeps me injury free. So that last group that we passed, they were coming out of Greenbrier State Park in Maryland. I have not run that park yet, but it's got a couple dozen miles of trails in there. And I just saw an article from the Maryland Department of Natural Resources that they've improved the trails. They actually regraded a couple sections that had eroded pretty badly and added about a half a mile to one of the big loops through that park. So I think one day I'm gonna come out here and go run into Greenbrier Park off of this section of the Appalachian Trail and just see what it's about. There's also a series of races that happen in Greenbrier State Park called the Greenbrier Ultras. I haven't done them. I have some friends who have, but they have several different distances. You could look it up on Ultra Sign Up if you think that's something you'd want to do, if you visit Maryland or if you're an ultra runner yourself. But it's a race that changes every year because the race director chooses a different loop to do each year. And so you'll do, several of either like a 5 mile all the way up to I think he does maybe a 8 to 10 mile trail, if I remember the race description correctly. So every year is a little different. So we've peaked that little hill there. It's probably a good time to check in with yourself. Did you push hard? Are you breathing heavy? And then so as we do this downhill, it's a good chance to recover. Maybe back it off a little bit if you felt like you went too hard, even bringing it down to a walk. And just keep checking in with yourself. I'm sure some of you out there are way more fit than I am, and you had no problem maybe running up that hill at even 4 or 5 miles per hour, and you're still just zooming along here as we go. I have no hubris about my running. I am not elite. This is a hobby for me, and I do it because it's fun. I do it because it gets me outside. My day-to-day job is inside, and it gets me I think I said earlier in this run, it lets me just be in the moment. I don't have to think about future problems, past problems if I don't want to. In fact, if I run long enough, the now problems are the only thing that matter. You start to get to that point of mental and physical exhaustion that you almost enter survival mode. And you start thinking, what do I need to do right now to get to the safe place? What do I need to do right now to get to the finish line? And so you stop worrying about, I don't know, whatever might be bothering you in life. At least it does for me. And that I really enjoy about ultra running. And so I cherish these long runs, even though it gets me away from my family, which I love them. But we all need our own time, and so this is that time for me. So we finished a little downhill, doing a little uphill here. This particular section of the AT is not especially exciting, and the trees haven't leafed out yet, so still just brown and drab. You can see there off in the left corner, I'm grabbing some of my nutrition. Just a good time to take it. I try to do some nutrition about every 25 to 30 minutes. And so I did some at Annapolis Rocks quite a while ago, about 15 minutes or so into this run. So this one's a tiny bit overdue, but not severely overdue. So get this in my system here, and then we'll get back to running. So let me know in the comments what you think about this run so far. Do you like the commentary? Do you not like the commentary? I thought about putting some kind of background music into the video, but I also know that a lot of people, when they run, listen to their own music and have their own soundtrack that they like. So let me know, if you want me to add some music or something like that, I might be able to do that. And you can see here up ahead, we're going to be climbing again pretty soon. Already doing a little bit of a climb, 3-4%. But this will start to get a little bit steep. But you can see on the elevation profile, which I hope you enjoy, that this isn't a very long climb. relative to some of the others. That's not something I usually have with me when I'm racing. Sometimes I can. You can put like a GPX file into your watch and then set it to elevation, and it'll show you an elevation profile. But it's not usually something I have. It's definitely not for like just a long training run. I'm not gonna like upload a route or anything. I might for a race because it can help me understand where I'm at and what kind of effort I might need to make it to the end, so I can budget my energy and strategy correctly. But when I'm just out doing these long runs, I don't. So it's either by memory or in this case, you can see the top of the hill, so I know how far it is. Sometimes you can't, or sometimes there's a false summit, which, the unknown makes the long runs interesting. So sometimes I go to areas where I don't really know the area and I just explore. Trails are pretty obvious. A lot of them are blazed. So it's hard to get lost, really lost in this part of the world for me. But something to keep in mind if you do find comfort in having a map or something. Maybe bring one along or put it in your watch or cell phone or something like that. I tend not to do that. I just go out and run. And so we're getting pretty close here to the top of this hill. And then kind of a gradual decline, another uphill, gradual uphill. So if at this point in the video you haven't been running the uphills, maybe this next one would be a good one to try, just because it's very gradual. It doesn't have as steep of an incline to it. But otherwise, just enjoy the scenery here. Beautiful blue sky. Should be pretty soon that the leaves will start to come in as well, and some of the flowers, some of the trees that do the early spring flowers, like cherry blossoms, dogwoods, forsythia, things like that will start to be in bloom. And then this area will probably be even more beautiful than it already is. So here the trail has narrowed quite a bit. We're almost on kind of a hillside ridgeline a little bit, where off to the right, is a bit of a hill, downhill, and off to the left is a bit of an uphill. So just kind of following the shoulder of the mountain here. And so the trail's gotten a bit thinner, more narrow, and there's a lot of trees and plants that are jutting out into it. And so then we're also running downhill, so there's a bit of speed. It almost is like a Frogger video game in a way, except instead of the cars, moving back and forth, it's me moving, and I've got to dodge around the static things, the trees and the plants and stuff. I don't know. It just makes a little bit of a video game. And it makes it fun. Interesting. And I do little things like that all the time. In fact, sometimes when I'm climbing hills, I'll just count. So if you've seen the Foundation TV series, one of the main characters in that, whenever she's stressed, she'll just count. I'll do that sometimes. I'll just start counting and just see how high can I count before I lose interest in counting. But think the highest I've gotten is into the thousands, and it's just something to pass the time as you keep moving. And, it doesn't take a lot of mental focus to count, but just enough to keep you engaged, keep you in the moment, keep you awake, which can be a real challenge when you're, maybe doing a 100K or 100-mile race, and you might be running for 24 hours or more. So, little things, like I said, gamifying it, pretending that the trees are going to jump out and get me, so dodging around them and dancing on the rocks. I say dancing because it really does feel like you need to be a dancer sometimes, like have the agility and grace of a dancer, to not twist your ankle and to get from rock to rock. So it's just, dancing from rock to rock. And what I mean by that is I'm really carefully placing my foot, or maybe like kind of tiptoeing along a rock, the tops of the rocks, and I'm carefully evaluating each foot placement, make sure I don't put it at an angle, or maybe step on a rock that's really pointy and uncomfortable that might hurt my foot even through the shoe. So just got to keep doing that. And then when you have nice sections like this right here where there are no rocks and it's smooth and wide open and packed dirt and it's nice and soft and easy to run, I cherish these moments. Running on the East Coast, there are a lot of trails, and a lot of them are very rocky and technical. And so when you have moments like this where it's not, it's just nice. I don't know how else to describe it. It just feels nice to know that you've got some soft earth to run on and no rocks. It's very gentle. So maybe some of you have experienced that, maybe not. If you are from the West Coast or like the Southwest of the United States, I think a lot of those trails don't have a lot of rocks. They're more sandy and a little bit smoother. So I'd encourage you to, if you haven't had the opportunity to come out east and run some trails here in the humidity and these rocky technical sections, I would encourage it. At the same time, the people who set fast times on the AT, they don't through hike it, they through run it. They'll run the entire AT over maybe a month or a month and a half. And so they're putting in 40 to 60 miles a day running. And I'm thinking, okay, I come out here and I run this, and how technical it is and everything. And so it just gives me so much respect and awe of the people who are able to actually just run the trail, and to run it quickly. They must be so strong to be able to do that. So earlier I was mentioning this is our last kind of shallow hill, I'll say. This is the steepest part of this, and then it's going to level out up here once we get past these two gentlemen in front of us that have stepped off the trail here. And that's probably a good opportunity for you to maybe, like I said, practice running up a hill a little bit, especially if you're new to running, because it's gentler, it's more beginner friendly than some of these really, really steep climbs. It says only 7%, but it didn't feel like that, especially after I had been running for some time before we get here, and with these big rock steps. having to lift your leg up high to get over those rock steps, it makes it feel harder than it probably is if if it were just a smooth gradient the whole way. Part of the reason they do those rocks and these things that you're seeing, though, is for erosion control. This part of Maryland, we might get, I think, around 40 inches of rain a year. And sometimes it comes in bursts of 3-4 inches in thunderstorms, which can erode the trails pretty heavily and rapidly. So by putting in some breaks like this with rocks and wood, it helps control that by slowing the water and forcing sediment to accumulate, things like that. So we're kind of over the shoulder of this hill. We've got a little bit of a flat section here before we do a gradual uphill and then a bit of a steep down. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions about, about my ultra running. Happy to share stories about races or upcoming races, past races, doesn't matter. About my gear, about my running history, things like that. I just want people to enjoy this in the same way that I enjoy it. So I try to bring you into my world a little bit with these longer videos, doing these runs. If you're not a runner and somehow you've managed to make it this far into the video, thank you. I also have just shorter best of videos that are on this channel, Checkpoint Running, which highlight just some of the more interesting things that I see along the run. Because if you aren't a trail runner, if you're not an ultra runner, you can see in this video that a lot of the running is just stuff like this. Just a plain dirt path through the woods with nothing especially interesting around. And so you really do have to learn to just live in the moment, enjoying this for what it is, no matter what it is, whether it's you think it's pretty or ugly or whatever. I think it's pretty. I think that this is nice, even if it's not the prettiest, most scenic thing I've ever seen in my life. But we are working our way towards the Washington Monument. If you're running or biking or elliptical or whatever along with me, stick with it. We're going to be there in about 20 minutes or less. And the view, again, in my opinion, this view from the top of the Washington Monument on the AT is the best view in Maryland, period. Like, you get a 360 degree view of the entire surrounding area, and you can see for must be 20 or 30 miles on the clearest day. There's actually a little map with some signs or labels, I should say, at the top of the Washington Monument, which help you identify what you're looking at. And on those, they have labels for West Virginia and Pennsylvania, because that's how far you can see. And this is in central Maryland. The AT runs almost right through the middle of Maryland, near Frederick, Maryland, a little bit west of Washington, D.C. So, yeah, the fact that you can see that far is just, it's really hard to put into words. So please stay with it and get to see this view at the end. Here's got a little bit steeper, still just pushing along. I'm power hiking it at this point because I was very tired. So we just keep going, keep pushing, get to the top, and then we'll get a nice run down. These folks here were very nice. They had seen me when I started the run going out from where I started, and then I passed them here again coming back the other way. So they were very friendly and remembered me. Almost at the top of this hill. Just keep going, keep going. And that's what I tell myself. These are my mantras. Keep going, keep going. You can do it. I say that to myself out loud. Or I'll say, Dylan, you can do it, in the third person out loud. And I don't know what it is about that. Maybe there's a psychologist in the chat that can explain it, but it helps. I don't know why, but it does. It just helps. I think being kind to yourself is important to be healthy, and at the same time can be difficult for some people. I would say it was definitely difficult for me. In my day-to-day work, I'm very critical of myself, making sure that I do a very good job at what I do and do it to the best of my ability all the time. And so if I make a mistake or I don't do something well, I am hard on myself. And so in running, I try to be kind to myself. And I just want to be strong and healthy and push and be able to do interesting things and not be limited by my physical condition. But I do try to be kind to myself and understand that, okay, maybe I got sick. You know, I can be a little, it's okay if I don't run today, I'm sick. Or, you know, it's okay if I'm not, challenging, Jim Walmsley to the finish line, right? Like, it's okay. Just enjoy the moment, and don't take the fun out of these sort of things. So here we're going downhill, but we can see, this trail section is pretty technical. Also, you can see here, apologies, I'm wiping my nose a bit. The weather is getting warmer. It was about 50 degrees this day, but not warm enough to not have my nose still just dripping a little bit. So if you've been seeing me blow my nose or wipe my face, things like that along the way, I apologize. It's just part of the job here. Maybe that'll be something I talk about in a future video, is handling bodily functions when you're out on these long runs like this. And maybe there's not a convenient facility nearby. I try to avoid talking too much about that, but it is a reality of ultra running, that sometimes nature calls at the wrong time, and you're just going to have to deal with it. But here we pick it up, actually going quite fast. I know this is probably the last downhill, so that I was going to do in this video. So I was feeling good. I had taken that nutrition and it had gotten into my bloodstream. I think I had actually just taken another one there when we slowed down after we summited that last little hill. So I'm feeling good, feeling hydrated, feeling like I have some energy, so we went a little faster down this hill. I would encourage you, do the same thing, kind of check in with yourself. How do you feel now? We've been running for over an hour. How does it feel? Are you starting to get tired? Do your knees hurt? Do your ankles hurt? Do your hips hurt? Does your head hurt? Are your shoulders tight? Kind of check in with your whole body and see how you're feeling. Maybe adjust. Might even be simple, stretch your arms up over your head and take a deep breath, relax your shoulders. Maybe you are getting a bit fatigued and you need to walk, right? For many people, this could be the longest run of the week. And that's okay. If you run or do any sort of exercise, you're already in top 5% of Americans at least. That's a made up statistic. I have no idea how many percentage of Americans exercise regularly or for this duration. But I would bet it's not especially high. So dancing along the rocks here. Sun is starting to really come out. The wind has picked up here at this point, if I remember correctly. So these trees are swaying quite a bit, and my hair is kind of blowing all over the place at this point, and it's only going to get worse. These two kids had blue hair mohawks. they were pretty chill. And here, I always look forward to this power line. It's a high voltage power line that runs through this section of Maryland and crosses the AT. Because I know it means that I am about to climb to the Washington Monument. And I know that even though this climb that's coming up is challenging, that I get a nice reward at the very top. So here we go. Last climb of this long run. And at this point I've slowed. I'm going to go into a power hike. You can see here with my hands and the poles, I'm putting both forward, planting them both at the same time, and then using my back and arm muscles to kind of pull me forward. It's little bit, right? It's not like I'm putting a huge amount of effort into the poles, but it is a little bit, and it helps distribute that energy and makes each little step just that much easier. And when you're taking tens of thousands of steps over the course of a long run, every little bit matters and can make a big difference in how you feel at the end. So a big climb. Like I said, just stick with it. I think this is the slowest I'm going to move for this run. We can see now we're getting steeper and steeper. We're up at a 9-10% and 1 mile an hour. So not very fast. But we are still moving, and that's what's important. Hill's not going to climb itself. I'm also not sure how popular this hill is because at the Washington Monument, there's also an area to park. So I think a lot of people, they might park at like the Annapolis Rocks parking back by Interstate 70 and then go and climb up there. and then they might drive over here. So we're going to keep climbing up here, just a little at a time, using my poles. Keep it moving. This would be if you're doing this run, doing this bike, whatever, there's not a lot of distance left, so it'd probably be a good idea to start your cool down. Just take this nice and slow up this hill. It's definitely quite steep. So just keep going. Nice, easy. Don't want to overdo it. This close to the end of a run for sure. There are numerous studies about how important it is to cool down from an exercise. Really give your body a chance to recover after a strenuous workout. So I'd encourage you to maybe not run this, maybe not push really hard, unless you are not done with your workout. You're going to do maybe another bit after this. But I thank you for coming with me. I hope you've enjoyed this section of the trail and this point of view. I really like doing these videos to share with the world, these sorts of adventures. I know not everybody can come to this part of the world for whatever reason, travel restrictions or financial reasons, things like that. So I hope you get a chance to live vicariously through these videos a little bit. Let me know, down in the comments, where you might be watching from, why you're watching, and I will be happy to read those. I'd like to see where people are coming from and what their personal goals are, right? Like, are you doing this because you just like watching nature and the point of view hiking, or do you, are you also an ultra runner? And this is a nice way to train on a treadmill and have something different in front of you than just your stats on the treadmill or whatever. Let me know. Hopefully I'm also inspiring some people. Maybe you've always wanted to run, do ultra running, and this is motivation to get out there and give it a try. And maybe some of you find my advice and experience and stories helpful in your own life and training and things like that. So we're just continuing to climb this hill here. It's gotten pretty steep at we saw some 13-14% slopes there. That's challenging, so definitely take this time to check in with yourself and make sure that you are actually able to do this. Make sure that you're not pushing too hard to do this and that you are cooling down, especially if you're coming to the end of the video here. So we're just going to keep on going up this hill. We're almost at the top, so just stick with it. I know it's hard. It's hard for me. I'm definitely really tired at this point, and you can see 1 mile an hour, which is definitely not very fast. So we are just getting up here, starting to see the clearing here and get to the nice packed gravel path here for people who just want to come and see this and not really do any hiking of the AT. This is kind of a local tourist attraction here. Just keep pushing, keep going. So here we are, almost to the top. This is the Washington Monument. Straight ahead, that tower. I really like this tower. Anytime I come through here, I stop and go up in here if the tower's open, which it has been all except for one time, I think, to see the view from the top. It's so gorgeous. So here it was a bit windy, so just pulling down my sleeves. Started to get a little bit chilly when we come up here, and it was super, super windy at the top. This tower here, it's got history to it. There's a placard here that describes that history and what it's about, why it was built. So, if you need more time to read that, you can pause and read it. But the gist is that the residents of Boonesboro, Maryland, which is just down at the bottom of the mountain, built this tower to honor George Washington, the United States' first president. And then later the tower was restored and then finally donated to Maryland. This was also used as a lookout tower by the Union or the North in the Civil War. Obviously, ignore the slope there. Sometimes when I stand still, it just like goes crazy. It's like you're at like a 90 degree slope. No, not really. I'm just standing still. But kind of at the mercy of that a little bit. So here we get a little preview of the area, but there's a much, much better view from the top. So move around the tower here and get ready to go up. So we go up here. I think poke my head in the stairwell here. I hear some people coming down, so I just back out and stand off to the side. So while we're waiting for those people to go by, if you enjoy this, I really would appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel. Upload new videos from new locations all the time, and ultimately my races that I have later this year. So really appreciate that. And like I said, leave a like or a comment if you have any feedback or want to share your experiences with me. I'd really appreciate that. So go ahead and climb up these stairs. I do cut it off here just at the end because there were some people up here. I didn't want to show their faces or anything for an extended period of time, just in case. So we get up to the top, and then we're going to have our 360 degree view. So I'll let you soak this in. Thanks for running with me. Thanks for coming this far into the video. I really appreciate it. And I hope I see you again.